Hello, friends. I'm your host, Dave Layton, and welcome to Signs of Our Time, discovering America's heritage, one sign at a time. This podcast is designed to provide the story behind the story found on America's roadside historical signs. Well, today we are having a very special treat. In this episode, I'm having a conversation with a new friend. His name is J.J. Prats. J.J. has one of the most unusual jobs in America, and one that I find fascinating and very directly impacts upon the signs, the historical signs that we have out there on our roads. Well, I'm going to let him introduce himself and then tell us a little bit about the very unique and informative job that he does. Oh, JJ.
Hello, Dave. I'm very pleased to be here with you today.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you what, you are a man that by the nature of what you do, you have got to be busy, busy, busy.
Um, I'm busier than I like to be, yes, but I'm doing what I enjoy, and that's really what counts.
Well, I'm hoping after this discussion that people are going to flock to your website and learn all about the historical markers that we have out there. So tell our audience, first of all, a little bit about yourself, and then tell us about what you do.
All right. Well, I'm the publisher and chief editor at the Historical Marker Database, which is a website at hmdb.org. And I'm just one of over 7,500 volunteers that have built and maintained the database and the website. At any given time, that's about between 500 and 600 of us are active, but over the time we've been building this database, it's been about 7,500 of us that have built it.
Wow!
And I'm the reluctant leader of this band of volunteers, and I hate managing people. So, now I think I've solved the problem because we call ourselves an organization of self-directed volunteers.
Yeah.
That means I can't tell anybody what to do. And then they can't ask me to do anything.
Okay.
Although they do, and I do, but that's the way it works. But over the years, I've been amazed with what we have accomplished and continue to accomplish, even though we're all self-directed.
Okay. So it's called the Historical Marker Database.
Correct. It is.
Yeah.
It's full of historical markers. And historical markers are those signs on the roadside that various organizations put up, a lot of them government related, but some of them are privately placed.
Uh-huh.
And they tell a little bit of history about what happened there or who lived there, who the people there think is important, things like that are on those signs. If they say something historical, they're historical markers.
If I'm traveling down the highway and I see a historical marker, I can stop and I can look at it, read what it is. But then I can go to the Historical Marker Database website and actually read a little bit more about the history of that and some other links as well.
That's our goal. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
And so far we have, now one of the rules we have is that we only put a historical marker on the database when one of our correspondents, has walked up to it and taken its picture. Uh-huh. So we know it's there when we visited it. Uh-huh. Because there's been a lot of lists of historical markers, and they say about where they are, and when you get there, they're not there. But ours should be there, and if they're not, we like for our readers to tell us so that we can mark that as missing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the history of the database and sort of thing. So how did this database come about?
It started as a hobby. I always stopped at roadside and street side historical markers and photographed them. As a matter of fact, when I had other people in the car, such as my wife, after a while, that got a little boring for them, but not for me. So I ended up with folders and folders of photos all over my computers and on thumb drives and on my cell phone. And I decided I wanted to display them in some sort of sortable format.
Okay.
Luckily, or unluckily, I had most weekends to myself. Back after we became empty nesters and my wife decided to go back to work weekends. So I had 2 days when I had nothing to do. That was about 20 years ago, 2005.
Okay.
So I started looking for software and websites that would let me do what I wanted to do because I needed more than a photo album. I needed more than a blog, and I couldn't find anything.
Okay.
But luckily for me, I'm a computer programmer, and I specialize in databases. So I decided to create a database and display the database on a custom website. And spent 2005 coming up with something and putting it up there. And I created forms I could use to upload my photos and titles and locations, and tried to figure out how I could display these markers and show what was near each other. And you know what I was hard to do? I didn't realize that until I started calculating the distances between two push pins on a map. That is not straightforward. A map is flat, but the world is a sphere.
That's right.
And you got to do the equivalent of stretching a string between 2 points and then measure the string to figure out what the distance is. I had to teach myself the spherical law of cosines.
Oh, no.
In order to write code to calculate the distance between two locations on a map.
Okay.
And that's something I must have missed in trigonometry class. Trigonometry, I can't pronounce the word in trigonometry because I always dozed off after lunch, which is when the class was on. And I got a D at the end of the semester. So I slept through the spherical law of cosines.
I feel your pain about after lunch. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. You just shouldn't do boring classes after lunch. That should be a rule of thumb.
That's right.
And I found math boring. As a matter of fact, my high school counselor told me that I would never do any good in computers because I didn't do good in math.
Oh, okay. Little did they know.
Little did they know that the computer does the math for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to do math. I just have to figure out how to tell it how to do that math for me, and I managed to do it. And the database.
You started in 2005 building this database, and it was on what your knowledge, what you had collected.
Right.
Okay.
That's all I had, and I put those in as I was testing it, et cetera. And on the 1st of January of 2006, I turned it on. As I was building this database, I built it for myself, but I thought, there might be some other nuts out there that take pictures of historical markers. So why don't I add some extra code to let other people also submit to the database?
Mm-hmm.
And I had that all ready by at the beginning of the year, 2006. And I went live, and I started driving around. My high school friend got wind of it because I told him, and he started running around taking pictures. And at the end of the year, we had about 50 folks running around adding things to the database.
And now you said you've got 7,500?
Yes, 7,500 or so over time. About 600 of us, give or take, are active at any given time, any given 6-month period.
Wow.
But a lot of folks have made contributions. Like I said, this hobby went out of control. And as a matter of fact, it was quite out of control after 2006 because I couldn't keep up with the submissions from other people. Who knew there were so many scavenger hunt nuts out there?
Okay, so again, what does the database do if I'm interested in markers or interested in history, that sort of thing?
Let me tell you what these people are putting into the database.
Sure.
They take they run around the countryside on their own, taking photos of any markers they come across. Sometimes they plan ahead. Sometimes it's just driving the countryside to see what they can find. They take their pictures, they take their locations, and when they get home, they upload them to the database. Until we came along, there was no single database, online or offline, of all the markers in the United States. And 19 years later, we still don't have them all, but we have an awful lot. And on our database, if you're hit with that many thousands of entries, we have one marker per page. I got to build something to let you find things.
Uh-huh.
Because you're not just going to browse over that many. You get bored real fast.
Yeah.
So I've got the usual search button. You can type in a keyword and see how many markers you pull up. But you can also search by location, the state, county, city, neighborhood. A few clicks on the location button can get you to a list of all the markers in your hometown. Or you can click on Near Me and get a list of all the markers around where you're currently standing.
Well, I have used the database myself in researching about different markers that I'm interested in writing about, and I found it very easy to use. Like you say, I just go to the search button there, and I enter in key information, and so it's very easy to use. You know, if I was a history teacher or something like that, I would find this database to be a wonderful resource for me to use.
And middle school history teachers are using the historical marker database.
Good.
There was one fellow up in near Buffalo, New York, who a middle school history teacher, who came up with a scheme that he would send his kids out after school on their own to find historical markers, and they would each carry a little booklet. They fill it in, and then he would stamp it. He called that their passport.
Okay.
And I got the kids out in the outside world, finding things, getting excited about history. It wasn't just boring lectures. And so he published a little template on how other teachers could do that, and that's sitting on our homepage for anyone to download.
Okay. That's a great curriculum idea. Okay. That's fascinating. Who actually, you mentioned it a little bit, but I'd like to tell a little bit more about it. Who actually puts up these markers?
Well, the markers get put up. A lot of them are put up, we call them the official markers, are put up by state agencies or even counties. So depending on where you are, in Ohio, you'll see on the roads of Ohio where I am, these brown and gold markers sitting on a pole by the side of the road. If you're in Virginia, they're silver and black. If you're in Louisiana, they're really handsome. They're burgundy with a picture of the pelican sitting out at the top of each one. And out west, they're bronze plaques stuck to boulders sitting by the side of the road. They do things a bit differently out west.
Okay. So they're kind of unique for each state, but within that state, they're going to have some kind of a pattern.
Yes, for the state ones, and then the counties come up with their own, and they may be cream and blue, or they each come up with a scheme so that I'm looking at a state marker, I'm looking at a county marker, and then when there's no rhyme or reason, you're looking at a private marker. And really, anyone can put up a marker. The state can put it on the road, but in private, you can put it on private property, and if it faces the road, it's going to be red. And our marker hunters are going to find it. Okay.
So I noticed in Alabama, my home state, we have some that are private. I notice on your site, and one of the markers that I feature in my podcast is Grantzer's Ghost. And it's put up by the Alabama Folklore Association, something like that. It's not an official state marker, and theirs are all red with bronze letters on them, and so that would be an example of a private one.
And in Mississippi, and this is a public one, but they're real nice. They have the blues trail, because a lot of blues singers and performers came from Mississippi, and they plant a marker which with a brief description of that blues person, typically near their hometown. And on the back, in very fine print, they really go into detail as to what that performer did and accomplished over his or her life. Those are real interesting to me.
Okay. right outside my neighborhood where I live, uh, there's a highway, Highway 31, and within about 100 yards of my turn in is one of the Blue Star Memorial markers. And these are all over the United States. And I did a little research on that one and found out some about that. In fact, she's going to be the director of that's going to be a guest uh, in the future. But uh, those markers are standardized in appearance because they signify, in this case, the blue markers honoring veterans, and they're all over the
Right.
United States.
Indeed, they are. Um, and the other thing that we have in our database, which is not strictly historical markers, are war memorials and veteran memorials.
Okay.
And
Okay.
one of the things that our correspondents like to do, and we encourage, is for them to copy down and transcribe every single one of those names on some of those memorials. And as you know,
Oh,
those names could be could be a lot of them on some of them.
yeah.
And what that does is that it puts that name on the internet, and family. I've gotten plenty of emails thanking me for our correspondents doing this because they found one of their ancestors who was in World War I, let's say, um,
Wow.
because they searched for his name and one of these war memorials on the historical marker database showed up. And it takes a bit to type out those names, and we will make a few typos. I
Well, sure.
can't say we can't. Um, and occasionally somebody will call and hey, listen, you misspelled my ancestor's name, and
Oh,
we
no.
fix it right away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As quick as you can. That's fascinating. And it just points out that sometimes we pass by something and we don't think much about it, but there's an incredible amount of information and effort.
Hmm.
And so we should slow down just a little bit, pay attention to
Yeah,
those things and learn.
because somebody thought that this little piece of information would be interesting
Yeah.
to the rest of the world, or they're proud of something.
Yeah. And I think
Or
it's as I talk about in my podcast, it teaches us about the rich, wonderful heritage that we have as an incredible nation. It's an incredible nation anyway. But then when
Mhm.
we start looking back at some of the things people have done that we don't think too much about, uh, it just opens up a whole new world for us.
Indeed. And our database is sort of geographically inclined because we have to place these markers somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And it proves that history, no matter how important and grand, happened someplace.
Huh?
And it happened right there where that marker got planted.
And it's not just dry names and dates out of a history book. This is living history. This
Hmm.
is real events and people and locations. It's just fascinating to me.
And I didn't plan ahead and have a example here, but there's an organization out west. They call themselves Eclampus Vitus, and they put up historical markers throughout the west of the Mississippi, and they put just a little twist of humor into almost every one of theirs.
I love it.
And
I love it.
you stop by the side of the road, take a look at one of those, and you crack a smile, or you laugh and guffaw, depending on
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
how it tickles you.
That's
Um,
great.
it's a great way to learn history.
And I've seen pictures in my research of families gathered around a historical marker. And now that you mentioned that some of those might have names of a relative on them, I wonder sometimes if that might not be a way to unify families or, have an event for a family.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's great.
and you have bragging rights. Your ancestor
Uh-huh.
did this important thing in this particular place.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, let me move on. I want to know what you think is the most unique or unusual marker that you've come across.
I have a favorite. Got a couple of
Okay.
three favorites. Um, I like the one in Chicago's Lincoln Park that got just about everything wrong. It's a bronze tablet that got erected in 1903, uh, talking about a fellow named David Kennison, which was the talk of the town in 1903 in Chicago. But there's another marker next to it pointing out what the tablet got wrong. He was not the last survivor of the Boston Tea Party, like the tablet says.
Oh, so you had a note, and now you got a footnote.
Yes, the footnote pointing down to the boulder where the tablet is. And they also point out he was not 115 years old when he died.
Oh, no.
And he was not buried nearby, like the marker says. He was buried blocks and blocks away.
I hope nobody ever moves that marker. That sounds to me like one that should be there just for the fun of it.
It is, and some folks say that they might have misspelled his last name while they were at it. So,
Why not?
so
Okay.
another one that fascinates me was about the first wireless telephone call,
Oh, okay.
and this one is true, unlike the one in Lincoln Park. But the first wireless telephone call was placed in 1880 by of course,
Wow.
Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, and he invented
Uh-huh.
the cell phone, apparently.
Okay.
But it
First.
was that, the first wireless telephone call.
Okay. I'm gonna have to research that one. I think I'd like to have. I just did one on the first 911 call in Haleyville, Alabama. I think this one would be a good follow-on, the first wireless phone call, because we think wireless was something we just
Yeah,
invented it 30 years ago, but okay.
exactly. We finally got it right 30 years ago, but
Yeah. Okay. When you were
I'll give it
talking
a
about that, I thought, well, what did he do? Yell from one room to the other?
try. No, he actually transmitted voice over a beam of light. So I guess
Wow.
he was doing fiber optics before they even thought of it.
Wow. I would never have thought that. That's
Hmm.
fascinating. Okay. See, so we think we got something new. And old Alexander Graham Bell was right on top of it.
That's right.
Isn't that something? You said there
And,
was a
and
third one?
there was a third one. It's out in San Francisco, and it's called the Golden Hydrant. And it was the only fire hydrant in all of San Francisco that continued to provide water to firefighters when the great earthquake leveled the city
Oh,
in
okay. Uh-huh.
1906. You know, the earthquake burst open the gas lines, and
Uh-huh.
wooden buildings started burning. So
Yeah,
what didn't
yeah.
fall down burnt down, except in this neighborhood. The neighborhood did not burn down because the fire hydrant did not go dry. And
Okay.
it's got a marker. This one is a plaque that they put into the sidewalk next to the hydrant,
And it's called the Golden Hydrant?
the Golden Hydrant.
Okay. See, I knew you would have an answer to that question about most unique. Those are fascinating. So we got one that had it all wrong, and then
Hmm.
we got one about wireless, and then we got the golden hydrant. Okay. And see, that's it. There's just all kinds of stuff out there. It's amazing.
Yep, it's not dry history. Now some of them are boring, I have to admit, but not
Yeah.
all of them.
I guess there's the ubiquitous George Washington slept here.
Yeah, we even created a series about that. If
Okay.
you can click a button and get a map of all the places that George Washington slept.
I always
Because
thought that was a joke, but that's a real thing.
he traveled and he stopped at all the inns because he traveled on a horseback, so he couldn't get
Uh-huh.
far
Uh-huh.
every day. The
Uh-huh.
reason he traveled on horseback is there was no roads back then.
Right,
You
right.
you either
Okay.
took a boat around the Atlantic, and or you travel on horseback
Uh-huh.
and stopped at all the inns. So every one of those inns has a plaque that says he slept here.
Yeah. I have some children that live in the Richmond, Virginia area, closer to Powhatan, Virginia, but not far from their house is, I noticed a site that was the Civil War Trail or something like that. Uh,
Yes.
it was major markers of events that happened in the Civil War. I think it's confined just to Virginia, but not far from their house is where Robert E. Lee stayed right after the Civil War, as he kind of recouped, and he would write letters to his different soldiers that were under his command. Fascinating.
That is a great series of markers. They started, I think it started in Virginia, but that organization puts them up all over where the Civil War occurred. So there's
Uh-huh.
into North Carolina, um, uh, and um, and north into Maryland, and I don't know if they got to Pennsylvania, but in any
Okay.
case, they're nice markers. They have photographs embedded into the markers themselves,
Hmm.
and sidebars that give you a little bit of a taste. Sometimes they quote the soldiers in the field.
Okay.
and maps showing where the battles took place, the Civil War trails, and we have them in our database.
Yeah. I just want people to go to that database. First of all, it's well developed. Thank you for doing that. It's very easy to navigate, and you feature different people and events. You rotate those around, so
Mm-hmm.
it's fresh. How does someone find the database? I think that's something we need to include.
Well, obviously, if you type in hmdb.org, you're going to get there. But if you type in historical markers, if you Google historical markers, we're the first entry.
Okay.
If you Google something you're interested in and add the word historical marker after it, it'll
Yeah.
probably end up on one of our pages.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and but there's three ways to get in. But get in hmdb.org and then hit the near me. That's what a lot of people do to see
Okay.
what's around where they are.
Well, I went to the database, and the way I came across you specifically was you have something on that database that you will give people if they'll contact you. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Drop me an email, and there's a button for it, a link for it, and I will send you a uh, magnetic bumper sticker
Yeah.
that says I brake for historical markers.
I have one on my truck that you sent me. Thank you. And I put it on my truck. And somebody commented it on the other day and asked me, what do you mean you break historical markers? Oh, no, no, no. I don't break historical markers. I break for historical markers.
Right. So you have to, and people have to be careful when I'm driving down the road and I spy one, my brake lights come on
Uh-huh.
and I pull over into the shoulder. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm warning people about. And that's what anyone who wants can have this marker. It's magnetic. And of course, in this day and age, bumpers aren't you have to stick them a little higher than your bumper.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a plastic cover on it or something. Yeah.
Right.
Um, it'd just be neat to have it, even if you don't put it on your vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And so
JJ,
drop
I
me a
have,
note and I'll mail it to you.
yeah, I have enjoyed this conversation, my friend. Tell me some more. I don't necessarily want to shut you off just yet. Anything else that you can tell us about the historical marker database?
That might help you. If you're interested in a particular topic, let's say the U.S. Revolution, we've got 70 different topics for you to choose from. Click those and you get a list of markers. You can filter it down to your state or county or whatever. You can put together, you can tag markers as you look at them and put together a nice weekend trip. Uh,
Oh,
and you get yourself a list, get yourself a map from the website of where those markers are.
okay.
And I mentioned earlier we got series where when our editors think these markers go together, a series are markers that carry us the same theme. For example, we have the Erie Canal is one of our series, and it shows all the markers that have been placed along the Erie Canal. When you map it, you see the path of the Erie Canal on the map by the push
Okay.
pins that we pushed in. And if somebody figures that thinks there's a better way to show something, I want to know. I'm the programmer. I can make that happen.
Okay. There you go. Well, my friend, that's wonderful. As I said when I introduced you, you have a very unique job. I don't think there's anybody else out there that has the title or whatever of what you are doing. You have found your calling, my friend.
I enjoy it.
I
It's
know you do.
and it keeps
I
me
can,
busy.
yeah, I can hear it in your voice. You get excited about those sorts of things. Okay. JJ, thank you for your time, and I thank you for what you do. It's adding to the richness of our life. So thank you for that, my friend.
You are very welcome.
Okay. Well, friends, there you have it. Thank you for joining JJ and I. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. I invite you to continue listening as we bring more episodes about the rich heritage of our great nation. I invite you to share this podcast with others. If you have interesting stories about historical markers, I invite you to email me at americanhistoricalmarkers@gmail.com. That's American Historical Markers at gmail.com. And by the way, I encourage you to email JJ. Go to that historical database and enter that information in there. Well, I'm your host, Dave Layton, and thank you for listening and safe travels.